In a year with 4 quarterbacks likely to be picked in the top 15 on draft night, there isn't going to be enough room for everybody in the spotlight. The enigmatic and polarizing profiles of Anthony Richardson and Will Levis have consumed the majority of the headlines lately as we get closer to the draft, making it easy to forget about the guy who I see as the most complete quarterback in the 2023 NFL draft class, Ohio State's CJ Stroud. In his 2 years starting for the Buckeyes, Stroud was surrounded by the best supporting cast in all of college football. He had the luxury of throwing to 4 first-round talents in Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Marvin Harrison Jr., to go along with a top-tier offensive line, featuring another first-round talent in Paris Johnson. Stroud had an easier job than pretty much any other QB in the nation, but that doesn't mean he was anything less than elite in college. Among Power 5 quarterbacks who dropped back to pass at least 300 times last season, Stroud ranked 11th in completion percentage, 2nd in average yards per attempt, and 1st in passer rating. The combination of Stroud's production and traits make him a top-tier NFL draft prospect. At 6'3", 218, he has an ideal build for an NFL quarterback, and his above-average arm strength allows him to make pretty much any throw you ask of him. He might not be Josh Allen or Anthony Richardson in terms of having a cannon attached to his right shoulder, but Stroud has no problem attacking a tight window or firing the ball into an outbreaker from the far hash. On this play from Ohio State's Week 11 game against Indiana, the Buckeyes showed a 4x1 set pre-snap, meaning there were 4 eligible receivers aligned to one side of the center. The route concept calls for a post route from the slot receiver to occupy the middle of field defenders, with mirrored hinge routes from the number 1 receivers, which tell them to break back to the ball about 12 yards downfield, turning inside, then opening up toward the sideline. Marvin Harrison did a great job of attacking the DB's leverage by taking an inside release, which created enough separation for Stroud to get the ball to him from the far hash. You'd like to see him throw with anticipation a bit more often than he does, but his accuracy doesn't drop off when he has to throw with zip, which allows him to attack all areas of the field. He's neck and neck with Bryce Young in terms of overall accuracy, but there's nobody in this class who throws a better touch pass than Stroud. On this play from back in Week 8 against Iowa, the Hawkeyes responded to OSU's 3x1 set with a single high safety shell, and the Buckeyes dialed up a switch concept to take advantage of this middle of field closed look. The concept tells the number 3 receiver to occupy the post safety with a rounded choice route, the number 1 at the top of your screen to run a post route to take the wide corner away from the pylon, creating a one-on-one matchup for the number 2 receiver on an out and up route. The concept creates the window it was designed to, but Hawkeye's defensive back Sebastian Castro played this out and up pretty well. The window was tiny, but Stroud put this ball in the perfect place where only his receiver could make a play on it. He does so many things at an elite level, but if there was one defining quality of his game, it would be his ability to attack the middle of the field. Stroud dropped some absolute dimes over the middle in this game against Iowa, one of which came on this first down from late in the third quarter. Ohio State dialed up a 2-man deep shot concept off of split zone action, which tells the number 1 receiver on the bottom of your screen to carry the wide corner vertically, and the Dover route from the opposite side number 1 is designed to get into the space vacated by that corner. Now, post-snap, the fake sift flat route from the pre-snap number 2 receiver, along with the Dover from Marvin Harrison, put the flat defender in conflict. But he did a nice job of keeping his depth without leaving the check down wide open. The positioning of that defender forced Stroud to throw this ball with touch, and the placement literally could not have been any more perfect. Just inches from the outstretched arm of the flat defender right into Harrison's hands for a gain of 18 yards. When attacking the middle of the field, Stroud is often forced to read the leverage of an opposing defender, and throwing based on leverage is one of his most impressive qualities as a passer. This play from the college football playoff against Georgia is one of the most aesthetically pleasing American tackle football plays you will ever see. Georgia tends to split their safeties, leaving the middle of the field open, so Ohio State called a concept to exploit the mofo look. The concept calls for mirrored smash combos designed to pull those safeties away from the middle of the field, and a go route from the running back out of the backfield. Stroud did a great job of identifying the inside leverage of the linebacker here, which told him to place the ball on his running back's back shoulder. That allowed for an easy catch and a 37-yard touchdown at the end of the first half. There aren't a lot of college quarterbacks who can attack the middle of the field as well as Stroud, and even less can do it without top-tier arm strength. He's the best pure pocket passer in this class, not just because of his dominance over the middle, but also because of the mental side of his game. Stroud can be an absolute demon with his eyes. He routinely uses them to hold or move defenders to create big plays like this one from back in 2021 against Michigan State. To attack the Spartans' single high safety look, OSU called a deep shot play action concept that tells the tight end at the top of your screen to run a 12-yard stop route, and the number 1 at the bottom of your screen to run a skinny post. Once he reaches the top of his drop, Stroud has his eyes locked on the tight end, which holds the post safety. Then he looks to Chris Olave deep and delivers a perfect ball for a 43-yard touchdown. Playing post safety against Stroud is a really tough job because his eyes are never going to tell you where he wants to throw. On the tight angle, you can see how patient he was here. He waited until the last second to let the defense know what he was going to do, giving Olave enough time to run by the post safety. Occasionally, you'll even see Stroud move multiple defenders on one play. Here, OSU called a dagger concept paired with a Dover route from the number 3 and a drag route from the opposite side number 1 against Penn State's quarter-half coverage call. Stroud wants to target this deep dig route from the number 1 at the top of your screen, and post-snap, he creates a window for that receiver with his eyes. To prevent the linebacker from working into the window, Stroud locks his eyes onto the number 3 receiver running the Dover route. That moves the linebacker, but then he sees the play side apex defender sitting in that window, so he shoots his eyes to the underneath drag. The apex bites, and Stroud rifles an accurate ball to the number 1 receiver for a gain of 21 yards. Like I said earlier, Stroud's ability to anticipate isn't top tier, but he's not a see-it-throw-it quarterback. He displays a clear and advanced understanding of his playbook, and he has a great sense of how leverage and spacing will impact his throw. He's usually quick to get through his progressions, often reaching the 3rd or 4th read on the backside. On this 3rd and medium from back in week 4 against Wisconsin, Ohio State ran a 3-read progression from an empty backfield against the Badgers' single high combo coverage. On the front side, Stroud is reading a branch concept between the number 1 and number 2 receivers at the top of your screen, which tells the number 1 to run a go route and the number 2 to run a quick outbreaker. Marvin Harrison did separate on this outbreaker, but he got way too dancey in the stem of his route, which threw off the timing of the quick game branch concept and forced Stroud to progress to the drive concept over the middle. The Mike linebacker does a nice job of picking up the shallow drag route, and the strong safety is tight to the tight end on his dig route. That takes Stroud all the way to his last read in the progression, the 3-step in from the number 1 on the bottom of your screen. He hits it before the pressure gets in, and his receiver picks up the first down. Stroud is at his best when he can stay in the pocket, stay within structure, and execute concepts as they were designed. He's not a true gunslinger like some of the league's top quarterbacks. More often than not, he's going to take what the defense gives him. He's not afraid to take a shot downfield, but his shots are going to be carefully calculated. Now, the overarching issue with Stroud's tape is inconsistency. After I watched 6 or 7 games, I was ready to put a mid-first round grade on him because of his shortcomings in extending the play, using his athleticism, and performing under pressure. But then I got to the Georgia game, and Stroud turning in the best performance of his college career in the playoff against the best defense in the country made his evaluation a bit more difficult. Earlier in the season, he didn't use his athleticism to extend the play very often, and when he did, you'd start to see uncharacteristically bad mistakes. Here against Iowa, Ohio State called a 2-man deep shot concept off a play action, and Stroud was under pressure as soon as he reached the top of his dropback. He did a nice job of sidestepping the pass rusher, but then made a terrible decision that got his receiver hit hard by the safety and got the ball picked off by the linebacker. Then, against Georgia in the college football playoff, Stroud was out there looking like prime Russell Wilson. On this play from the second quarter, Stroud is again under immediate pressure, this time from the best defensive lineman in the country, but he escapes, keeps his eyes downfield, and puts a great ball on Marvin Harrison for a touchdown. In 2022, Stroud gained 130 total yards on 18 scrambles. 6 of those scrambles and 66 of those yards came against Georgia. He barely ran all season. Then in the playoff, he's running all over the place. He also struggled under pressure all season. He was by far the worst of the top 4 quarterback prospects when faced with pressure, completing just 41.3% of his passes, averaging just 5.7 yards per attempt, and posting a passer rating of 76. Then, against Georgia, despite being pressured on over 40% of his dropbacks, Stroud put together a nearly mistake-free performance. Just about everything that was wrong with Stroud's tape completely disappeared against the best defense in the country in the biggest game of his life. It would obviously be lazy to scout based on one game, but this game carries so much weight in the evaluation process because he was that good. Despite the inconsistency, Stroud showed enough to warrant a high first-round grade. I still have a lot of scouting to do, but he currently ranks 8th on my big board, right behind the guy who I covered in my last video, Brian Branch. As for where he ranks among the other quarterbacks in this class, I'm gonna take a pathetic cop-out and say that I don't know yet. There's still a lot of tape to watch, and these guys are really tough to compare because they all have such unique profiles. So it's gonna be at least a few weeks before I'm ready to finalize my quarterback rankings. But no matter who ends up at the top at the end of this process, CJ Stroud has made me a fan, and I can't wait to see where he starts his NFL career. That's going to do it for today's video. I will be back soon to cover another draft prospect, maybe another quarterback, so stay tuned. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, but that's all I've got for now, so until next time, peace.